What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Gear Talk. I am, as always, your slightly bolder host, Jason. So today on Gear Talk, we have something that I'm kind of excited about. I've been playing with it for a little while, and it's really kind of my first foray into this kind of gear. So stay tuned after the break to find out what it is. Okay, so today on Gear Talk for my gear junkies, I got the Ampero Stomp. Pretty excited about this. I've been playing with it for a little while. If you've not seen what the Ampero 2 Stomp is, Ampero 2 Stomp by Hotone, or as I call it, Hotone or Hot One, because I'm not really sure what it's actually pronounced. The name is spelled Hotone, which looks like either Hotone or Hot One, but I think it's actually supposed to be pronounced Hot Tone, and the T is shared, but I'm not really sure. So this is a multi-effects processor. It is pretty sweet. It comes with these little crystals that go on to make it a little more desktop friendly, but it is a Stomp box, so it's made to go into your effects chain and do what it does, and it does it pretty well. So over the last couple of weeks I've been playing with this. I've enjoyed my experience with a few caveats, but talk a little bit about what this thing is. So this has a tri-core processor. I'm going to put it down before I drop it. A tri-core DSP processor. What that means is it's got a little bit more processing power than the previous generation, which was the Ampero, just the Ampero, which was actually more like an MX5. So it was a smaller form factor, but it had a foot pedal. So it was about the same size as this, just a little bit wider to accommodate a built-in expression pedal. So it's got a little more DSP power. Now what that really translates to is probably being able to add an effect or two extra. Unfortunately, playing with it, I have hit the buffer pretty quickly, especially when including an impulse response in the effects chain. That tends to eat up a lot of DSP. And so unfortunately, it's not as unlimited as it appears. However, if you don't have an IR in the signal chain, you actually can get quite a lot of effects. And pretty typical, reverb eats a lot of DSP and things like that. So, of course, always something to be paying attention to when it comes to exactly how your signal chain is built. It is a true stereo signal chain, so this can be split and can be sent out as a stereo output. It's got kind of all the requisite in and outs. It's got, you know, your let's see here, there's your foot pedal controller, and then it's got a dual input, so you can either come in stereo or put two different devices in the same signal chain. Balanced output, left and right channel. There's a built-in stereo effects loop, which is really nice. An aux in and a headphone jack, and then a MIDI in and out / through. And the thing I thought this was pretty cool is it actually uses USB-C. A lot of similar devices in this category are still using the this big square plug, which is just a pain in the neck because it requires like extra adapters. Because I don't have a square plug that also has a USB-C, and I'm on Mac, so basically all my inputs are USB-C. So it's kind of a pain in the neck, so it's nice to see that at least Hotone is taking the cue from the rest of the world and switching over to USB-C, if only the others would as well. So who is this built for? If you're an HX Stomp, or if you're interested in the HX Stomp, this is kind of in a similar form factor. You know, the 3 foot pedal, foot switches, a couple of knobs to help get the job done. One thing this does have that the Stomp doesn't is it's an actual touch screen, which I really like. I think that it makes editing and configuring your signal chain just a whole lot easier. The MX5 and its bigger brother are both touch screens, although the MX5's touchscreen is about the same size as this. The bigger brother, I forget the name, is quite a lot larger. So I think 7-inch touchscreen on that. So that is kind of nice. But this is, I think, a 3.5-inch touchscreen. It's a decent size. I could say probably I could get rid of maybe these three and make the screen a little larger, or make the device overall a little bit larger to have a bigger screen, because I'm not young and my eyes have a hard time seeing all the details. Not that the print is bad or anything like that, it's just not huge, and it would be nice if it was a little bit larger. I think it would also make configuring all those things easier with fingers, especially if you have big old fat fingers like I do. One of the downsides to this, and it's really not a fault of Hotone, it's that there's just not as many presets available. Now, Hotone did partner with Celestion to do a whole bunch of IRs. So in that respect, this has probably one of the nicer collections of impulse responses built in. And of course, you can add other third-party IRs to the product as well. But the fact that it is built in with all those Celestion IRs is kind of nice. It does sort of up the ante a little bit. But as far as presets are concerned, of course, you know, anything from HELIX is going to have just boatloads of user presets that are out there that you could either download for free or pay for. And so if you're not somebody who wants to spend a lot of time tweaking your sound or going in there and moving things around, it is nice to be able to have kind of a good starting point from someone other than the manufacturer. So as we all probably know, you know, generally manufacturer presets are not real great. They're okay, but and that's the same for this. There's some decent things on there. There's an awful lot that's just kind of wasted. Some duplications, things like that. So as far as the built-in presets, it's sort of a mixed bag. I'd say maybe 25 or 30% are really good. Sometimes they're in a weird order. Basically, with a 3-switch pedal like this, you kind of have banks, and then within that bank you have 3 presets. That's kind of the way this is set up to work. So you can either bank up or down if you hit both switches at once. And then to switch in the presets within that bank, A, B, and C, essentially you just click the individual pedals. I really like the fact that you can also go into pedal mode, which means that each one of these is assigned to turn on and off a specific effect. So if you're like me and tend to play with maybe just a boost pedal, a chorus, and either a delay or a reverb, you can just use those to turn those on and off, and that's kind of nice. Of course, you add the expression pedal, you can use that to turn on and off the wah or volume or whatever you have the expression pedal set up for. And with the actual MIDI in and out, you can easily add an additional external foot switch if you wanted to have more control over things, and it's built in to accept that. In fact, I think Hotone makes a foot switch that kind of compatible right with this right out of the gate. I wish it had maybe 1 or 2 more switches. Of course, that would make it quite a lot larger. So this is, you know, obviously competing with the HX Stomp, which is incredibly popular. This is $499 or $479. HX Stomp is right around $650. Occasionally, it goes on sale for $600 or so, but typically it's about $650. So for about $150 more, I'd say the one thing that you do get with the HX Stomp is going to be the community is going to be bigger. Other users that can help you troubleshoot, can help you with presets, and all those things. While this is a great product, it's really a product that kind of leaves you standing on your own. And I find that with quite a lot of the other sort of smaller brand of these multi-effects processors, where the product may be great, the sounds might be awesome, it might be easy to use, but it lacks a community. And especially for someone who's a beginner or doesn't have a ton of experience with effects, something as complex as this is really nice when you have a bigger community. So as I was saying, in about the same price category as this, you can get the MX5, and that is a very similar device as far as capabilities, except for it does have the expression pedal. So in that respect, the MX5 is a little bit like the predecessor to this, to the Ampero, the original Ampero, which was 3 buttons and an effects pedal as well. So it's a little more similar to that one. This is definitely comparable to what I would say would be the HX Stomp, would be the most obvious comparison. That being said, for $499 or $479, if you're someone who's okay with exploring and trying things out and doing some more research, looking on more obscure websites for information, etc., the sound quality in this is outstanding. I've played this primarily as an input device directly into my computer, into Logic, and also what I like about it is it's got the headphone jack, so I've also used it as a silent practice amplifier, and in both cases it worked really well. Easy to set up. It's USB, so no for Macintosh, which I'm on, no drivers required. It's instantly recognized. It does take a wall wart, which I don't love. I wish it was a USB adapter instead of a more traditional, cable and big box and all that. I always feel like those are a little more fragile than if the power supply were an actual wart with a cable or USB. So it was a little more universal, easy to replace if the power supply gets damaged, and especially if you're going to be performing with this. There's no alternatives to powering it but with USB bus or anything like that. If the power supply breaks or if the cable goes bad or whatever, you're out of luck and this thing's a brick. So in that respect, I do wish it was USB controlled, USB powered. Beyond that, I do love these big knobs here because this one here on this side is clickable, like it's clicky, but it also is pushable. I don't know if you can hear that. So that makes really changing menu items quickly nice. And then these three buttons down, these three knobs down here are nice. Even though you can do everything they can do right on the touchscreen, it's nice to change values. I find sometimes, hitting a button up and down to get the exact number you're looking for, it's just easier to twist the knob. And they're all like nice and clicky. They feel really good. The chassis is mostly aluminum. So it's nice and rugged. It's pretty impressively built. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel any worse than what I've seen with the HX Stomp or that kind of aluminum chassis. Feels pretty rugged. I think it could probably go on tour and be fine playing in gigs and stuff like that. The nice thing about something like this, or of course the HX Stomp, is that you don't have to carry an amp if you have this because it's got the impulse response in the cabinet emulator. You can just connect this directly to your soundboard going out to your PA system. So this will kind of replace everything, which is what the upside to these really are. Is it's an amp in a box and a effects board in a box. Now with this small form factor, I'd say it probably belongs best as part of a larger pedal board. If you had a couple of small micro effects pedals like this, attached together, adding in the expression pedal, I think that would probably be where this is most at home. But it certainly can stand alone. For the price especially, I think you're in hard to beat territory there. I really have enjoyed using it. Do I think it's probably going to replace a regular pedal board or what I tend to use when I'm recording, which is bias effects? No, I think I'm going to continue using direct out of my guitar into my audio box and then into the computer using bias effects. Again, primarily because I like the ability on bias effects to search for a sound, download it, and now I'm playing in a style that I'm looking for, versus this where I'm spending a lot of time tweaking to get a preset that I like and then saving it, which is nice. You can save it, so it's not like you lose it after you build it. But yeah, I think that if I were performing probably more, this would be a great option because I don't really want to take a laptop in the field with me to use bias effects as a live solution, although you can. And I actually have a device that will help you do that, and we're going to review this here in a couple of days. That's the Xtone Pro by Xsonic. I've had some struggles with that, but we'll get to that in another review. Anyway, as far as my verdict for the Ampero 2 Stomp, I would say if you're a live performer, it is an absolutely great value. It can do it all. You only really need a PA system and the Stomp, and you are on your way. If you're comparing the Ampero to, say, an MX5, I think it really depends on, because they're the same price, it really depends on whether you want to have the built-in expression pedal or not, and a slightly larger community with the MX5. Now, if you're comparing this to, say, the Line 6 pedal board that's, I think it's 450-ish, it has a whole lot more buttons. It's a lot more built like an actual pedal board. It's not as flexible as the HELIX or as this is. It doesn't have the touch screen. But it has an expression pedal. It's built much more like a traditional Stomp board, but you can't move things around. I think it only has like 6 controllable slots, and the rest are reserved for the volume pedal, your amp simulator, and your cab simulator, or something like that. So the Line 6 is very popular. I think it's called the Podgo, and it's awesome, but it's really just a different device. This really competes with the HX Stomp. Is probably its most close companion. And I would say for that, really it comes down to price and community. So if you don't have the budget for the HX Stomp, if your budget tops out at $500 and you don't want to spend the extra $150 for the HX Stomp, the Ampero 2 Stomp is fantastic. It sounds great. It works great. It seems reliable. It feels like it's built well. I really like the expression pedal. There'll be a review on the expression pedal, part of that coming soon. If, on the other hand, you really want a great community and a lot of user presets that you can download and play with, then the HX Stomp is definitely the better device. Just because, obviously, the HELIX community is a lot larger, because it's been around a lot longer. It's made by a company that is well known in the guitar industry. So it's kind of a trade-off. You are paying $150 more for that community. So you have to weigh whether that's worth it to you. I think for me, the community matters more. And so in that respect, this is not going to stay here. It's not going to become part of my rig. Even though I really like how it works, I think missing those presets, and maybe that makes me lazy, but there's something to be said about, I want to make a sound that sounds like Eddie Van Halen, and I can just quickly type it in, download it, and then I'm off to the races. I'm not making money off my music where I need to have this amazing, unique, original sound. So you need to ask yourself the value proposition question. Is it worth having a better device that's a little cheaper, but it doesn't have a community? Or I would say maybe a slightly older device in the HX Stomp, no touchscreen, that has an amazing community and you can download all these presets. All right, so just a quick tone demo, just so that you can see. They're just going to be presets that came with the device. I will tell you the name of the preset, but let me go ahead and put on a pair of headphones so I can hear what I sound like. Okay, so this is called Sweet Dream. Kind of a cool sound, right? And for you gearheads out there, I am playing my Ibanez S series, which I think is probably my #1 guitar. Even though it is not my most expensive guitar, I just love the ergonomics, how it feels. I love the wizard neck. It's just super sweet. So, okay, so next up we have Slick Drive. So obviously something a little more overdriven, kind of, I think, maybe a great tone for some more rocky blues. As I have said many times, I am certainly not the world's best guitarist, but my job isn't to impress you with my playing, it's to tell you whether I think this device is worth its salt or not. So anyway, I think it's a pretty good sound. Now, This guitar is got some pretty hot pickups, so if I were playing with something that's a little bit cooler, calmer, say like my Fender right there, probably wouldn't be quite so overdriven. I've switched to position 4 on my multi-selector, so this would be kind of like the same thing as a Strat. And then Ampero strikes back, I guess. I don't know. This is supposed to be like probably their version of a super distorted, like a super lead. So you can hear quite a lot more distortion. That mid range is nicely scooped. It's kind of a good like shredder, beginning shredder type sound. I wouldn't say like, you know, maybe for like metal or anything like that, but more like 80s shred. You can hear the delay. And it's cool because it's a true stereo delay, so I'm coming out of my USB and I'm actually hearing it ping pong in my headphones. So that's how this effect is set up. It's got that stereo delay. I don't know if you can hear that at home, probably not, because I think this is mono, but it is kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my guitar down real quick because you don't need to hear any more of my crappy playing. I'm going to unplug, take off my headphones, and then just going to show you a little bit about the screen. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the device powered on. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of slack on the power cord, but give you an idea of what it actually looks like. So there's the screen. If I keep my lights out of it, you can kind of see. It's a decent sized screen. It's nice and bright. What I like about it is, again, it's touch. So once you hit edit, there's your actual parameter. So that's Ampero strikes, which is this tone you just heard. It's really hard to do this and keep the lights out, but hopefully you can see that. So each item on there is just a touch away from editing. So you tap it, and then you see it gets selected, so it says current effects, and you can see the reverb is highlighted. You hit the edit button, and now you have all the information to make changes on reverb. And the nice thing is you can easily just touch and kind of go through what effects you need to do. This is really hard to do backwards. What effects you need to change. And then you can either use the touch screen, or what I was saying in the review is you can easily change it with just using these little knobs, which I really like. It just makes things a lot easier when you're doing detailed editing. With that being said, also there's a looper built in, which is really cool. There's a really nice tuner. So and these light up. So if you're in stomp mode as you're stomping through, my son really likes to play with them and turn the colors on and off. That's like his favorite thing to do. So that's if you're in stomp mode, and then of course if you're not in stomp mode, if you're in patch mode, you see it changes the patches, and then to change the entire bank, you press 2 at the same time, 2 to go up, 2 to go down, and then once you're in that bank you want to be, you just click the button and it changes the patch. Like I said, it's got a looper in it. If you press and hold, it goes into tuner mode, and you have a really nice chromatic tuner. And then, like I said, there's also the looper built in. It's a true bypass, so you can actually, if you press and hold on button number 2, I believe it is, there's your looper. And then if you press and hold on button number 3, it goes into bypass mode. So I really like that. It's got that transparency. So if you want to be in bypass mode and you know, just have whatever pedals or just the sound of whatever amp you're into and take that out so it's not coloring anything. It's a really nice feature. Like I said, it's a great device. I wish it had a bigger community, but that also being said, give it time and it probably will. I know I'm certain that it's growing as we speak. So something to be considered as you're making these decisions. But with that being said, stay tuned. Lots more reviews coming along. If you would, please comment down below, ring the bell to get notified every time I produce new content. Share it with your friends. I really want to see this channel succeed and grow, and I hope that we can do that together. So with that being said, peace out, and I'll see you next time.